For this video, I wanted to put together some thoughts on some things that people would want in considering how they do homeschool for their kids. This could be used both for people doing homeschool as well as goals for people, what they want to try and set for things they're thinking about for what they want out of the kids' education. And a lot of these things, I think this would help people, and it's not limited to any one particular faith or group. I think a lot of people could benefit from these kind of thoughts. First off, one consideration, if you talk to people in current public schools and in colleges, they don't know what the job market is going to be like for the kids in the future. It's moving so fast that they don't understand how to get them ready. They think technology will answer some of those questions, but they don't know, and they'll even tell you that. Okay? Thought number two, people are ignoring their past and their ancestors and their own family. In your own families, people have had histories of what they did and what life was like when the economy had downturns and when it wasn't only good. That's the kind of time, that's the kind of life we're in now. The economy is having lots of hiccups, lots of downturns, and people in your own histories, your grandparents and great grandparents, they, they have stories about what they did, and you have their histories of how they met those kind of challenges. That is being ignored, and that's actually incredibly useful. You could use that to know what to do. For example, when the economy is good, education and careers tend to focus on the idea of having one skill that's a super skill that's really good, and that's your main thing that you're going to study at at the at the exclusion of all else. They tend to ignore the other things. When the economy is down, that approach does not work. Historically, when you look at your own family, your ancestors, they sometimes would have their they might have a day job, and then they'd come home and work the farm at night and in the early morning before doing their day job. Okay, they'd have more than one set of skills, and they felt like that was the right thing to do, and it worked for them. A lot of them, that's how they paid for their kids' college, is because they weren't spending on these other things, and they were able to provide their own things at home, like their own food, which they grew and stuff like that. That is a good approach. When the economy is going south, you can't count on a job opening in only whatever you're trying to study and go after. So instead, you need to have more than one set of skills. And that can be thought of both for how you choose a career and how you do a homeschool. So you need to try and look at a more strong foundation that could be adaptable to more than one thing, not only one skill. Focusing on making one skill a super skill is not going to work. I have another video that I'm going to post that will go into that in much more detail and explain it. But it's very concrete and logical to understand this, that when there's not very many jobs, you can't only bank on one skill. And this is even worse when you're in a economy that has a lot of people that want to hire people based on them having the same ideology and the same belief systems as them instead of based on merit. Okay? That's the trouble we're in right now. Now, here's some other thoughts on homeschooling. you need to teach the kid that how to deal with blind spots in society and blind spots about their future, and then having a belief and hope and faith that they can get through those blind spots that are going to happen, and that they're going to be there, and that, you know, um, how to be ready for them. This includes the idea that getting them ready for the idea that people are going to challenge them. It may be that they try and challenge their belief system. It may be that they may, in the future, or when they become adults, have adversity. Public school is not teaching them how to deal with adversity. It's trying to teach them to, you know, it's hard to explain, but it's trying to make them kind of dumbed down and think that everyone should be nice to them and everything's going to be good, and you just hug your teddy bear and kind of that kind of nonsense. And that's not necessarily bad for really small kids, but their life is not going to wait for them. The country is failing to address the number of kids left behind that don't have skill sets and that don't have, you know, kids that don't have parent support at home. There's a lot of pressure for schools to not have homework, which actually builds skills. You're not you're not trying to purposely give homework, but what you're trying to do is choose our goal for homeschool or whatever it is that we want this to lead into applied skills. Okay, people who are really successful in veteran teaching and people who are in sports and coaching, they will tell you that the kids that are learning applied skills are able to meet the challenges of life more likely, but the kids that don't have that are not. Okay, the next point, part of the goal for homeschool is to be able to endure the storms of life. We're not hoping for them, but to be ready for them. And you also got to figure out a way of helping to strengthen their mindset and spirituality to not feel fear when challenges come, but instead to be trying to prepare for if they'll happen. And um, to explain this a little better, um, in public school, what kind of happens is the kids, something will happen, like a playground or at school, and they'll skin their knees. And no one told them, they didn't hear beforehand, don't do that. They usually hear the don'ts after an accident's already happened or an event's already happened. Homeschool could be different, where you try and teach them the viewpoint of teaching them about and warning them about dangers and things that could happen before they're actually having their faith challenged or there are other things challenged in life. And that teaches, that's a much stronger point of view and a stronger foundation and a stronger position. It also can help them to have less fear, where they can know that if there's going to be a challenge, they can pray about it and get the answer, or they can pray for help before it happens. And they can also rely on their parents to know what to do. And sometimes the parents are challenged too and can't always interfere, but they can still comfort them. Now, this idea of homeschool, one of the things that could very well happen, it's very possible, I'm not saying it will, but it looks like the current trend outside of the outside of my state, it looks like the schools are becoming anti-Christian. Um, it's possible that could increase. I don't mean only one. I don't mean only one type of denomination. That's a danger for everybody. Even if you're non-Christian, you don't want your kids going to a hostile environment when they go to school. Anyway, those are some things you can think about and things you can put in your goals and what you're working towards for homeschool and for anything to do with, helping your family and your kids grow.